Good morning, everyone. My name is Darryl Windham. I'm the Horticulture Manager here at Naples Zoo and Caribbean Gardens. A little bit about myself. I have an associate's in ornamental horticulture and landscape technology. I've been doing horticulture here at zoos for approximately 20 years. Before here, I was at Zoo Atlanta for 15 years, and I've been here for 5 years. I've been doing it overall for about 25 years. So I'm really excited to talk to you this morning about a really interesting project. It's one of the first things I got to work on when I started here at Naples Zoo, and it's the plants at our Python exhibit. So what we try to do in zoo horticulture is we try to have or mimic or bring in plants and exhibit plants from the area that these animals naturally come from. And some of them are for habitat, or some of them are just from the area or part of the world that the animal lives. Since pythons are Southeast Asian, we decided that we were going to go here with all Southeast Asian native plants. And that Southeast Asia goes from Myanmar all the way through over to Vietnam, down into Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand. So basically anywhere that you would find pythons, either the Burmese python or the reticulated python. So I just want to highlight a few of our favorite plants that we have here. First off, I want to start talking about these crotons. Croton is a very common landscape plant here in Southwest Florida. Right now, at this exhibit, we have about approximately 10 varieties of crotons planted. There are literally hundreds of varieties of crotons, so there's quite a bit to choose from. If you can go get them. Some are collectors, some are more collectors items. Some are commercially available. This one is a very popular commercially available one. It's called Magnificent. It's a really fantastic croton. Does well, has lots of good color on it, and it's a really tough plant for us to use here in a landscape. Moving on, talk about this unique, really cool tree right here. This is a breadfruit tree. Now, for Southwest Florida, they're going to be a little on the cold-sensitive side. So this one we got down to the upper 30s earlier this year, and it did not like it. However, it's bouncing back out of it, and it's growing really well for us. It does produce an edible fruit, although we've only gotten one or two of them off of it in years past, and they haven't been very edible. So, unique thing about this tree is, if you're familiar with the story about the Mutiny on the Bounty, this tree is at the center of that story. So another thing, we got another croton here. This is Duncan Macaw right here. Another unique tree we have planted here is this is a ficus tree, or a fig. It's called a Ficus damaropsis. It's also called dinner plate fig. Really, really unique looking leaf on it. Really big leaf. Very interesting, a little bit harder to find, and doesn't get very big. Only gets probably maybe 20 feet tall, 20 feet wide, if that. So it's fairly slow growing, but does really well for us here in this area. We're probably going to have to hopefully be able to propagate this and have some planted elsewhere on grounds. So we head around this way over here. We'll talk a little bit more about some of the other plants here. We've got a crepe jasmine here, Tabernae montana. Then over here I want to kind of show you some things that we kind of deal with from time to time. So we do have pests and everything, so what we try to do is we we'll I guess tolerate a certain amount of pests and pest damages. However, when it gets to a certain point, that's when we'll step in and try to use treatments via organic methods, or at the very last resort other methods to try to get pests under control. However, with this one, these are pretty little Spatha glottis ground orchids, which they should have nice little blooms on them. We'll see if we can find one a little bit later on. We'll do it. But anyway, this is damaged by my eternal enemy, rabbits. So the rabbits get on certain plants and they eat it. We've tried all kinds of repellents and whatnot, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But unfortunately, this is kind of the stuff we have to deal with here. And it'll grow out of it. Hopefully, when we start getting more into the growing season, it'll start bouncing back and look fantastic in hopefully in a few months or so. Moving on, here's another variety of croton right here. This one's a really cool one called Dreadlocks. It's commercially available. You can find it around. Really colorful, really interesting crinkle leaf that you can see here. It's got a unique texture to it in the landscape. Then moving on to this next plant over here, another group of plants that you can find from Southeast Asia are your cordylines or Hawaiian tea plants or tea plants, if you want to call them that. This particular variety is called Willie's Gold. Does really well for us. Again, there's another plant group that has like hundreds of varieties of, get them from all over the world. They do really well if you want to propagate them by cuttings and whatnot. So that's another one that we use a lot from Southeast Asia. And this right here is a staff favorite for us. It's a Philippine Fig or a Ficus pseudopalma, and it's another type of ficus. Has a really interesting, unique texture leaf to it. Grows really well for us. It's fairly fast growing and pretty tough for us. So again, this is a staff favorite, and we really, really love this one. Then another type of plants that very commonly used in Southwest Florida landscapes are your ixoras. Ixoras are also from Southeast Asia, and there's several different varieties. Your Norgrants, Super Kings, and so on are some of your more popular varieties. This particular variety, it's just now starting to come into bloom, but it has a nice little orange salmon color to it. This variety is called Aurora. And you can find those around there. People will have them, garden shops will grow them, and it gets a little bit bigger than some of your smaller ixoras, but has a really, really unique bloom. Does really well for us. Again, another variety of croton right over here to Courtney's left, I guess. That right there is called a redfoot. Again, more of a collector's item, but has really big purple leaves with red mid veins in them. Looks really, really fantastic. It's just now putting on new growth here, so it's starting to grow. That's a really cool variety as well. Then, what else we can find? We'll talk about a little bit about this. This is called a tree jasmine, or Radermachera. This variety is called Qingming. It's starting to become readily available in the trade. Does really well for a shrub. You can tree form it. Gets these really clusters of white flowers that are slightly fragrant, and has proven to be a fairly tough plant for South Florida landscape. So we're kind of really excited, and a lot of people are starting to grow this. So you should be able to find them out there and about if you look around and do a little bit of digging. Certain people will have it. We can't really talk about plants without talking about my favorite types of plants, and those would be palm trees. So one of the things we have down here is this little Vietnamese paradise palm. It's Linonia daisiantha, and it's a really, really good looking tree or plant. Probably only gets like 5 feet tall at the most. Is a really good shade plant. So it's kind of a little beat up there, but you can notice it has a little bit of this mottling on the leaves, and that's what that's kind of the thing that that sets this palm apart from other things. Again, shade tolerant, a little bit more of a collector's item. They're slow growing, but if you've got a shaded area, you can grow it in a pot fantastically. If you've got a shaded lanai, will do great for you, and you get that nice little mottled coloring. So another ixora we have, it's almost in full bloom here. That's a fairly common one. That's the dwarf ixora or Ixora taiwanensis. And then we talk about another really good landscape plant that we use right here. This right here is called leopard plant or giant leopard plant, Farfugium giganteum. Does really well. Take a little bit of sun, a little bit of shade. Has really nice, big, bold foliage on it. And then probably in the spring and also in the fall, we get a bloom on it. So it will throw up a spike, and they're yellow daisy-like flowers. So it looks really, really pretty. Bees love them. It's a really good pollinator plant for it when it's flowering. Also, it's a great foliage plant when we're using it, if you're using it for landscaping. We'll take shade, we'll take sun. So it's just an all-around, it's one of our really, really good plants that we use here. We're talking more a little bit about all the different varieties of croton. This one's called Stoplight right here. This bigger one here is General Paget. It's one of the older varieties. It's one of the bigger ones as well. Takes full sun. Then go on to other, speaking of crotons, here's one of my personal favorite varieties right here. This one's called Monarch. It's more of a collector's plant. It gets these big, crinkled, quilted strap leaves on them, and starts to get really colored up this time of year. Well, these colors will intensify as the plant matures. You'll get a little bit more freckling on it, haha, like myself, on that. So it's one of the favorites, well, it's one of my favorite croton varieties out there that we're growing here. Then, finally, I want to talk about this is a really popular plant down here for us. It's called Porch Ginger, or Alpinia purpurata. This is a red form. There's a white form, pink form. You can get it in those are some of the main colors on it. It's only supposed to get 5 to 6 feet tall, but this one is very happy in its location right now, and it's up around 7 to 8 feet tall. Gets these really, really gorgeous blooms on it, and this time of year, it's kind of a showstopper for us. A lot of people take pictures of this, they ask about it, and it's a really, really tough, durable plant for us. Let's see, that's pretty much all that's all I wanted to kind of cover. So, thank you very much for joining me on this really brief tour of our plants at our Python exhibit. If you have any questions, feel free to give us a shout out to us on social media, or you can email me at Darrell Wyndham or dwyndham at napleszoo.org, or horticulture@napleszoo.org. Thank you very much.